Good morning, Glide family. Good morning. So I want to share with you my story of how I first came here to Glide. And I want to warn you that it's a hard story, but it's also ultimately a story of hope.
All right.
So I first came here in 2013, and I was absolutely devastated after losing my big sister, Michelle, to suicide. It's hard for me to explain to you how important she was to me, how much she meant to me, how close we were. She was 6 years older than me, so literally from the day I was born till the day she died, I never knew a world without her. My mother called her Mamacita, little mama, because in her mind, I was hers and she was mine. People mistook us for twins, and I can't even begin to tell you how many times she was my co-conspirator on a grand adventure. And then, on May 10th, 2013, I got a call from my brother-in-law that my sister had walked onto the tracks of Caltrain and she had taken her own life. And in that moment, my whole world just crumbled. And the days and weeks and months that followed that, those were some really dark days. I had always been a very spiritual person. I grew up Southern Baptist, and between that and Glide, I was pagan, I was Druid, I was a Buddhist, a pantheist, but always spirituality was a really big part of my life. And in those days, I just couldn't connect to that. Everything seemed empty, everything seemed meaningless, and in all honesty, there were days when I just felt like letting go, when I just didn't want to do this anymore. Through it all, though, I kept praying, and one day I prayed this prayer, and I asked God to restore to me just some small fraction of the love and the joy that I had in my life as a result of her being in my life.
All right.
And that, I believe, with every fiber of my being, was the prayer that brought me to Glide.
All right.
God answered that prayer with Glide.
Amen.
And so somehow I made my way here, and I found a place that was filled with joy and that also had room for all of my sorrow. I could bring my whole self here, and I knew from the very first time I walked in the doors, the very first Sunday celebration, that this was something I wanted to be a part of. I began to heal here, I began to get stronger, and one day I realized that my view of the world was changing, that I could see that world, that universe, as a beautiful and magical place again. So eventually I started to feel stronger. I felt like I could give back. I began serving as an usher. I led several Better Me workshops, and I joined the prayer circle. And I just really have to speak a word about the prayer circle and encourage you, if you've never come to a prayer circle, to do it. Because let me tell you that prayer changes things. It did for me. And for me, it really brought that love and that joy that I was looking for. You know, nothing and no one will ever take the place of my sister Michelle.
Right.
that's a wound that I will always carry with me. And what I learned is if we're surrounded by people who see us and know us and truly love us, we can heal and we can even be stronger in those places where we were broken. So I thank you so much for hearing my story, and I thank you for being part of it. I'm Grace, and I am Glide.